Hey, what's up everybody? It's me. You know who I am, but today I'm going to talk about 5 reasons why Pokemon X and Y could be better and how it could have been a better game. Now, I'm kind of bored right now. I'm out walking in the neighborhood because there's nothing better to do today. It's a Saturday. But I just thought of Pokemon X and Y again when I saw on websites that some cheat company, Daytel, the ones who made the infamous Action Replay, which everybody back in the Diamond Pearl era used, they basically came up with a new device. And basically, the device lets you modify your 3DS's save files. So, remember the Pokemon that got leaked a while back when there was a Mega Latios and Latias and stuff? That stuff is confirmed real. And I just thought of 5 reasons why X and Y was a mediocre game after talking to random friends and stuff about it. So let's start off with reason number 1, the graphics. Now, let me just clarify, this isn't in any particular order, and the reason being is that I know some people wouldn't care what their game looks like. I mean, that's fine. But this is an era in which I guarantee if let's just say a AAA studio made a game that looked like an Apple II game, or more accurately, let's just say something nobody wants at this point, like a PS2 game or a early 360 game, since it's not old enough to be nostalgic yet. If a game came out looking like that, I guarantee that everybody would be criticizing it. They'd be saying, oh, it's got terrible graphics. Oh, it's ruining gaming. Oh, it's a joke. Fail for life. I mean, considering how if a resolution of the game isn't up to snuff, it'll be criticized. That's pretty much a thing these days. But the problem is X and Y looks mediocre. I mean, even if you hold it up to standards of a 3DS game, you've got what? You're comparing it to what? You're comparing it to Resident Evil Revelations, Shin Megami Tensei 4, Monster Hunter, all these other games. I mean, even Kid Icarus Uprising, Mario Kart 7, even those games look better than X and Y did. And X and Y looks bland, mediocre, like worse than a GameCube game. And I know people are going to say, oh, handhelds are weaker. Maybe the 3DS might be, but considering how they've managed to push amazing graphics from the 3DS, it puzzles me why Pokemon X and Y still has to look mediocre like it's caught in the past. And I honestly am not going to understand that. But it doesn't help that the textures are pretty low resolution along with the frame rate issues, and not the fact that the gimmick of seeing your Pokemon 3D was done years ago by companies such as Genius Sonoronity with, I don't know how you pronounce them, but with them and Coliseum and XD. Those 2 games were in 3D, full RPGs. And there were other games such as the Stadium series and Battle Revolution. Sure, Battle Revolution was wasted potential, but it could have been much more. And now reason number 2, the designs. I know. There are people who like the designs, but there's also a ton of people who think that they're just terrible. I mean, look at Mega Latios, the one that just got leaked. Or better, look at Mega Lucario, look at Mega Absol, which looks kind of emo. Look at there are so many examples I could name. Nearly all the Mega Pokemon look terrible. Another thing is, they look like they just took old Pokemon and added some new features, and not only that, but, I know they have their fans, but there are other things that have their fans too. There are fans of, let me think of something terrible. Oh, there's fans of people who like to drive Honda Civics, for example, and they're fans of, people driving old beater cars. I'm next to one right now. I'm just walking through the street. Look, some old beater van or something. There's people like those things on YouTube, I know. There's all sorts of fans of weird stuff. But I understand there's some people like the new Pokemon, but here's the thing. They're just not that memorable. Let's be honest. which would you rather see? I mean, some of the better Pokemon from Generation 3 or 4 or 2, or would you want to see some mediocre Generation 6 Pokemon? I mean, sure, Generation 5 and 6 had a handful of decent Pokemon in my opinion, but there just isn't very much good in those generations. It's just mediocrity in a box. And like I've said, the design, I mean, I know there's some people who like the designs, but many people have agreed with me. The designs look iffy-ish, and I wouldn't be surprised if Generation 7 has pretty bad ones too. Reason number 3, more integration of online. Now, why does this sound like a bad thing? Of course, that's because Nintendo's Pokemon games with online have a finite life cycle. They put them up for like a few years and then shut them down. And here's the thing. With Diamond and Pearl, you only had, You only had, with the online mode, you only had just a simple battle mode and with friend codes and then you had the GTS. With Black and White and Black and White 2, you had the Dream World. And with the Dream World 2, sorry about that, wind started blowing. But like I was saying earlier, with Black and White and stuff, they added Dream World. And what Dream World did was it took many of the features you had in past games, such as the ability to capture Pokemon from past generations. It took those features and of course a few other features such as, let's just say, berries from Ruby, Sapphire, and Diamond and Pearl, those which you could do in game. It made you do those online. You had to take the berries and you had to pretty much put them online in some online storage thing. It sounds alright on paper, but the only problem is it's not good in execution. Because the problem with it is, when it was executed, it was terrible. Because you had to be online, you had to go through their slow servers, which were always down, just to get your berry thing. Just to do something you could have done in Diamond and Pearl. And while they brought it back in X and Y, thankfully, I guarantee in a few years, people are going to look at, Black and White, and they're going to be like, wow, this game had so few features compared to Diamond and Pearl. And the multiplayer people aren't even going to care because they always buy the newest one and forget the last one existed, such as Black and White. Generation 6 is out, nobody's playing Black and White anymore, everybody's playing Generation 6, and that's the thing. They're tiny online features, and so the second the new game comes out, because of the group habit of buying the new one, the features are going to be worthless in a few years. I mean, you can still play Call of Duty 4 online, you can still play Halo PC online, I mean, even Halo 2, that game's been shut down, you can still play that online with tunnelers. Who's to say people are going to be playing that online in a few years? Reason number 4 can pretty much be, well, they've changed way too much with, let's just say, the storyline. I mean, they went from having somewhat of a story just repeating themselves. I mean, look at Generation 3. After Generation 1 and 2 were pretty much Team Rocket's story where, oh my god, Team Rocket's doing this, OMG, Team Rocket's back, OMG. First time it was alright, second time it was OMG, Team Rocket's back. Third time, they decided to go fresh, and they made Generation 3, which is known by many to be the best Pokemon game. It pretty much took Pokemon and added the 2 teams, and of course, their goals were different and stuff. And of course, you had other side characters. It was a pretty fun game. Then you had Generation 4, which was kind of a rehash of Generation 3, but it could have been much worse. It wasn't really that bad, it just as bad as people say it was, but it was pretty fun. I mean, maybe it was the first Pokemon game I played. It was fun back in 07, but looking back, it was kind of a rehash of Generation 3. OMG Evil Team wants to get Pokemon to do their agenda. Generation 5, same thing, but let's add a plot twist where one guy's being manipulated because that's the cool thing to do these days. I mean, BioShock's doing it, Dead Space is doing it, so why not do it too? In Generation 6, any sense of plot Generation 5 had. They just went off the deep end and pretty much made the mediocrity known as Generation 6, which is even worse than 5. Stupid people on their motorcycles. But they made Generation 6, and it was pretty much so bad that, get this, Generation 6, they add even less of a plot and another oh my god plot twist, because like I said, it's the year 2013, plot twists are cool, right? I mean 2014, but Black X and Y came out in 2013. It's that year and plot twists are cool, right? And that's the thing. X and Y and stuff, their plot's not that great. And here's the funny thing. In a Game Informer interview, the guy said, we wanted to make we wanted to make even less of a plot with Generation 6, but then they add the OMG, war is evil, OMG, so many thousand year in the past, guy did this plot line. Do they expand on it at all? Nope. It's just thrown away like Black and White's PETA ideals. So in the end, what was said in Generation 6 did not really matter that much. I mean, seriously, it's just mediocre, whatever. It was just not that great. And now for the last one, the 5th reason, the gameplay hasn't changed despite all this. They've neutered the plot, they've made the game pretty much a multiplayer wannabe. Imagine they want to be like, pretend they're like some tactical strategy game like StarCraft and Dota, but here's the thing, they're never going to be that. And I mean, Pokemon's heavily unbalanced. They don't put out balanced patches like, say, Blizzard or Valve or Riot Games do. Instead, they just ban Pokemon with knee-jerk reactions. They do that all the time. Sorry, there are so many cars flying past me right now, and there's so much wind today. But, like I said, despite all this, they've pretty much made Pokemon into a wannabe competitive game, because everybody I talk to admits the only reason they still play it is for the competitiveness. I mean, despite the fact that there are so many other more competitive games, people still play Pokemon for some bizarre reason. I mean, maybe because it appeals to certain demographics, maybe it's because of that, maybe it's because, I don't know. I know, there's tons of cars rolling past me now, but that's the thing with X and Y. It's so bland and generic, and yet the battle system's the same. And not only that, but they haven't even changed it. Sure, there have been some spin-offs like, let me go back here. It's blown in this direction. Sure, there have been some spin-offs like Pokemon Conquest, Pokemon X and not X and Y, Pokemon Mystery Dungeon, Pokemon Ranger, and yet most of these have been mediocre and are forgotten about quickly. I remember wasting money on Pokemon Conquest and thinking it was going to be a good game, and instead it turned out to be terrible. Forgettable, because I like Final Fantasy Tactics in Disgaea, or however you pronounce that game, but that game was terrible. Conquest, it was boring, forgettable. I just returned it to GameStop not long after. And and that's all I really have to say. Despite all the watering it down, despite all that stuff, they try to keep the battle system the exact same. Shin Megami Tensei, Final Fantasy, they've changed their battle systems in years, and what's Pokemon done? Remain the exact same stuff. Without change, you wouldn't have active time battle, you wouldn't have games in 3D. All the games would still be stuck in the Apple II era. You want all your games looking and playing like Apple II era games? You can play those games online, but they haven't aged well at all. And all I have to say is, X and Y is just pretty much that. One of those disposable competitive games which won't be played for a year or two before everybody jumps to X and Y 2 or Z, or X and Y 2Z, or whatever mineral color letter they come up with this week. And that's all I have to say about X and Y. it's mediocrity. It's not going to be that great. It's just going to be forgotten about in a year or two. When the next big Pokemon games come out, and the story, other than kids, the story just isn't going to be that memorable. I mean, are you going to see people talking about the story several years down the line, like with Bioshocks? Or are you going to see the story forgotten about, like, let's just say, let me pick a good example. There's so many. Like, let's just say Mario. People don't care about Mario stories, and people are going to care about X and Y about as much as they do a Mario story. And that's all I have to say. Thanks for watching, and subscribe for more. And please, I really hope they improve with the next Pokemon games, because for all I know, they could be better or they could be much worse, and that is all.